Trauma therapists are trained to avoid vicarious trauma, to run from it like it's the boogeyman under the bed, starting on day one of grad school. We are taught that we have to armor up and protect ourselves from it, to not let it happen in the first place, or we are going to burn out. Well, newsflash, it's happening. Vicarious trauma is happening no matter what you do. Yes, if you don't wring out your vicarious trauma sponge, you'll burn out. But something else is happening in the room too that you may not even know about. Every single day, trauma therapists witness courage, adaptation, and growth after unimaginable experiences in humanity. And this is what keeps most of us going. I know it does for me. The fact that we get to see people truly get better after trauma. And whether you realize it or not, all these glimmers change you just in the same way as the impact of trauma exposure in your job. And these glimmers have a name. They're called vicarious resilience. And it's a powerful source of energy and renewal for us as trauma therapists if we know how to pick up on it. So today, I want to give you my top shortcuts and examples of vicarious resilience so you're not missing out on the glimmers that you get to experience each day as a trauma therapist. Before we get into these 15 examples of vicarious resilience, though, tell me below in the comments, what is one word that you would use to describe how being a trauma therapist has changed you? Just share whatever the first word is that comes to mind. No judgment, no evaluating. Oh, and if you don't know me yet, hi, I'm Jenny Hughes. I'm a trauma psychologist and the founder of the Brave Trauma Therapist Collective, where we make sure that trauma therapists have something left for themselves at the end of every single day. And a big part of doing that with trauma therapists is helping them to notice, to hold on to, and to build more vicarious resilience in their professional and then, of course, their personal lives. And if you've never heard of this, it's okay. Check out this video on it right here where I talk about what is vicarious resilience. And be sure to stay to the end of this video too, because hearing these 15 examples are seriously going to make it so much easier to start picking up on these moments in your own practice so you can stop missing the glimmers that are already there. All right, let's get into it. Example 1. The first thing I want to share with you is something we're all rooting for in our work with our clients. It's when a client sets a boundary they were never allowed to set before, and you get to watch someone say no, perhaps for the first time in their life. That moment stays with you, right? You can feel the pride in your chest. Maybe you get a little dopey grin on your face. I know I do. And that's because you're not just watching a communication skill, an interpersonal effectiveness skill. You're watching someone reclaim permission in real time. The next example for you is when a client feels an emotion that they have worked so hard to avoid. These are the moments when they stay present with grief, anger, or fear instead of shutting down. That is some emotional courage. And from the outside, if you're a fly on the wall, it doesn't really look like a glimmer, but I know you know the importance of these moments for the people that you serve. And when they do stick with the emotion, the massive progress that's right around the corner for them. Example number 3 is when a client comes back after a really tough session last week with you. On the one hand, this is so freaking stressful as a trauma therapist, right? We worry about our clients after the tough sessions, but healing isn't always about breakthroughs, nor is vicarious resilience. A lot of times, that resilience and growth looks like showing up again next week for both your dear clients and you, trauma therapist. All right, example 4. These are the moments when clients choose self-acceptance over approval. They may have disappointed someone important in their life and survived it. Or they realize they need to make a big shift in their path, and they begin that journey without shaming themselves for what happened in the past. These are the moments that tell you as a trauma therapist that something is shifting at a much deeper level. And what a gift that you get to be a part of it. All right, example number 5 is when a client recognizes a pattern that used to control them. Whew! Oh my God, this one is so freeing. And in that moment, when insight becomes awareness, you can see their agency return to their body and their spirit. Again, you are the one that gets to witness it. You get to be a part of this process of healing. And when you pick up on that in real time, it is one of the most energizing experiences that you will ever have as a trauma therapist. Now, that brings us to example number 6, when a client takes responsibility without collapsing into shame. This is a tough one for any of us, to acknowledge harm or a mistake. And when we get to be there with our clients in these moments and they don't disappear under it, that is massive growth happening right in front of your eyes. Example 7. This is when a client protects their child differently than they were protected. And before I get into this, check in with your body to see what landed. What was it like for you to hear me say that and to think about and really feel into times that your clients have initiated intergenerational change and healing right in front of you? This is part of why this work can change us too, because we're not only witnessing the effects of trauma, we get to witness trauma being interrupted. All right, we're halfway there through these. Example number 8. When a client practices regulation between sessions. For many of us, this feels like the holy grail of being a therapist. They actually use the grounding skill or the container or the calm place without me. Oh my God. And then when they tell you they tried, not perfectly, but they tried, and you get to celebrate that with them in session. It's everything, right? Example 9, this is when a client starts trusting their own perception again and gaslighting loses its grip. This is when their inner compass gets stronger, their true north, and you can feel that strength in your own brain and body too. Example 10, we are going, y'all. This is when a client laughs again. Did that make you smile? This one is everything because it's not about the nervous laughter or the forced socially appropriate laughter. It is true, deep, in your soul, maybe even belly laughter that happens so spontaneously they didn't even realize it was coming. This is when you get to be part of their nervous system expanding again. And this one is super important because these are sometimes moments that trauma therapists accidentally skip past because they don't look clinical, but they are so important. So remember that. Remember that laughter is often a sign that there's a little more room in the system than there used to be, and you got to be a part of that. On to example 11. This is when a client imagines a future they couldn't possibly have imagined before, and they finally have even just a little bit of hope. They have opened up just a tiny bit to things being different for themselves. Often this moment comes across to you in just a single sentence, so be on the lookout for them. Keep your eyes peeled, as I say. And then give yourself the gift of letting it land in your own brain and body. Okay, example 12. This is when a client repairs a relationship. Such a major victory, right? And it's usually not a perfect repair, whatever the fuck that means, but it's something done intentionally. It's something that gives your client the experience of a new relational outcome. And that repair itself is resilience. Example 13. This happens when a client notices their own strength. They say something like, I handled that better than I used to. And you see them start believing it. When you witness enough moments like this, it starts changing what you pay attention to as a therapist. This means that you get to stop only tracking pain and you can start noticing capacity too. All right, 2 examples to go. Number 14, this is when a client stays present with a painful memory. This, of course, connects to example 2 when our clients feel an emotion they usually avoid. And they usually often go hand in hand because there are moments when your client doesn't dissociate or maybe doesn't go all the way, right? Or they're able to stay present in the room with you even just a little bit more. And that takes enormous nervous system work. So when you get to soak that in with them, know it's okay to do a little happy dance. As we near the end of this video, remember that if you've witnessed moments like any of these before, you've been exposed to vicarious resilience. And this last one, number 15, it might be the most powerful example for trauma therapists because it speaks to a question that so many of us quietly carry about this work. That brings us to example 15. This is when you realize that this work hasn't hardened you, it has deepened you. So many trauma therapists worry about this, that hearing trauma all day will make them cynical, detached, emotionally numb. And while, yeah, that does happen if we're not wringing out our vicarious trauma sponge, and because you're human, the opposite happens too. You become more compassionate, not less, more aware of what people survive, more patient with human complexity. You start recognizing strength in places that most people would miss. That shift is vicarious resilience. It means this work didn't just expose you to trauma, it also exposed you to human capacity. And that changes you too. So as you head into your sessions this week, don't just track what's hard, track what's healing too. Track the boundary and the laugh. Track the moment your client stays and the little flicker of hope that you picked up on, okay? Track the evidence that people can change, because the more you notice vicarious resilience, the more access you have to the part of this work that renews you. And if you want help actually doing that in real time, grab my free Vicarious Trauma Tracker in the description below so that you can start catching the glimmers that you might otherwise be missing in your practice.